Hey everyone, hopefully you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter in whichever fashion you're choosing to play it as. And today I wanted to go over basically the biggest reveal we have had in the Monster Hunter community in probably quite a long time. And that is of course the full reveal and finally the realization that Monster Hunter Wilds will be the next mainline Monster Hunter game. And not only did we get a brand new reveal trailer, we did get some tidbits post basically the Game Awards going live. So I do want to go over that information, as everything you need to know is probably not fully out there just yet since the game's reveal was just found out. But what did Ryosu Sujimoto specifically state was that in summer of 2024 they will be talking more about the game. So essentially, of course, more information is going to be coming out the closer we get to launch, which is seemingly, according to Capcom themselves, 2025. So this game is still going to be cooking for a little bit. It isn't something that Capcom is willing to rush out there for, but based on what we have seen so far, it is looking fantastic. And there's a lot of really good suggestions here that this is most likely going to end up being the long rumored open world game that we had been hearing many years about already. But what it does seem to be, at the very least, is a more survival aspect looking game, more exploration. This is something that Rise and Sunbreak tried to do a little bit better than, at the very least, World did. But certainly traversal in this game seemingly is going to be very important, because you have a mount right off the gate. They're not hiding the fact that mountable Palamutes were a fantastic idea. We saw mountable pets in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, and essentially they're bringing that into this game. It reminded me a little bit about just the idea of chocobos in general. You're just riding your beast throughout the desert, making sure you're escaping any sort of dangers, and the monsters that we do get to see the hunter escaping away from, all of these monsters seem to be essentially brand new. There's a little bit of a herd of a bunch of herbivore looking smaller monsters that seem closer to stuff that we saw back in Sunbreak, for example, but they're not the same type. They seem a little bit different, and ultimately all the monsters that we do get to see here are brand new, but they seem to be smaller monsters at best. They don't seem to be the big type giant creatures that we're used to seeing in general for this franchise. What I do find fascinating, of course, is that towards the back end of the little short trailer, you do get to see, of course, Rathalos kind of swoop in. I originally thought it maybe a Susur Rathalos, but it does seem to be like a traditional Rathalos at the end of the day. What I did find fascinating, though, of course, is the logo itself, the two giant snakes. And if you know anything about Monster Hunter and the Monster Hunter franchise in general, you should know that the logo tells you quite a lot. So we should be expecting some giant snake returns as basically the biggest threat, most likely, that this game is going to present. Obviously they're all going to have their basic themes and introductions, most likely elements and fights that you're going to be able to engage with, but these monsters are most likely going to be formidable based on this scale that we're seeing everything at. These monsters that we're being introduced right now, there are different tiers of them. There's like the little birds, there's these little running type of dinosaur looking monsters, and then there's the bigger size ones, two different tiers of them. So that basically shows scale. Every monster seems to have their own scale here, so you don't necessarily need to be concerned that there isn't going to be variety, and the things that you're going to fight ultimately are going to scale up in size like they typically do in the Monster Hunter franchise. So that is a pretty clear tell that you also get to see there. Another thing is the weather change. You see this big giant sandstorm happen, and with it you also see it followed by plenty of thunder, something like a thunderstorm happening relatively quickly soon after. And it does invite the idea of a Kirin appearance. Of course, that would make a lot of sense. Maybe these monsters in general are just escaping the storm because they know behind that is actually a Kirin right around the corner. So, that could be some interesting notion there. But at the end of the day, weather does seem to play a role in here, and it's going to be interesting to see based on the biomes. Again, if it's an open world experience, the biomes will change any which way that they want. Capcom will have a lot of liberty and freedom to be able to set those things up however it is that you want them to be. We do get some sort of notion as to what it is that we can expect during the very quick shots. You do get to see a coral looking like underground, a little bit like underbirth type of thing, maybe inside of a cave, especially when you get to see the kind of hopping happening with your mount. Very short flight, there's some hopping, and it does look like the coral grounds a little bit from inside, but ultimately the storm is kind of clouding the lighting. At the end of the day, it makes everything seem like nighttime, and of course you don't necessarily get to see a whole heck of a lot of it. But what you do get to see very clearly here is that they are showing a lot of long panes, long distance areas, that the same idea that Zelda had originally, right? If you can see it, you might be able to walk to it and engage with things there. That's pretty much the kind of like the dress up that is kind of like shown whenever they showcase the logo. And ultimately, to me, it suggests that, of course, it is that open world game that has been rumored for many, many years. But at the end of the day, it is something that players will have to either adjust with, or just simply have to take their play elsewhere, and hopefully have a good time with another franchise that just doesn't necessarily do what Monster Hunter does. So ultimately, am I very excited to see this trailer reveal for Monster Hunter Wilds? Absolutely. In my predictions video, I basically talked about the fact that I hoped that at the very least they maybe showed us a logo or something along those lines. But I think what tipped me off here, and I even wanted to kind of talk about it on social media, but I didn't, was ultimately the fact that Ryoso Sugimoto was just sitting there randomly for no good reason. If you remembered, actually heading into the presentation itself, in the video that I put up yesterday, I spoke about the fact that they were basically just showcasing Monster Hunter Now, maybe potentially winning a mobile game, which it didn't. Obviously, there were much better mobile games to actually give an award to, and there was like a Monster Hunter Now type of read from Jeff Keighley, but ultimately it didn't really lead to anything, and Ryoso Sugimoto wasn't just going to show up for that. So ultimately it was really funny to see that at the end of the day they did have the reveal for the Game Awards. It wasn't for Tokyo Game Show, and they even alluded that Jeff got to play the demo apparently for this very early on in September, essentially when Tokyo Game Show was happening. So as all of that press with the 20th anniversary was happening, I'm sure the page will update and more details will be brought over from there. But as of right now, basic reactions from the reveal of the trailer is that indeed Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be a 2025 game. It does seem to be open world at the end of the day. Not much we can do about that, but it is what it is. And it does seem to be, at the very least, a much bigger scale game than we originally thought. They didn't mention consoles, of course. No PlayStation, Xbox, PC, Switch, anything like that. We won't know until they start talking about it in 2024. But it will be interesting to see what more information we get from there on out. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys today, and everything you need to know regarding the reveal of Monster Hunter Wilds, their latest Monster Hunter Generation 6, basically. Generation 6 is what this is going to be. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.